It's my buddy V. Hi, good to see you.
You too, Dave. How's it going?
Good. Tell us, what you're doing.
I'm uh I'm pulling this shopping cart here with this strap for change. I want to see a change in the way our communities are run, change the way we deal with homelessness, change the way we deal with addiction, change the way we deal with mental health. I really want to bring awareness to indigenous men's mental health and men's mental health in general. I've been going through a lot of changes. I've been really able to overcome a lot of my addictions with, not just the 12 steps, but with trauma therapy and managing emotions and being taught that like proper way to actually, not proper, but a healthier way of expressing myself instead of, punching people out and saying, that's too bad. I don't care. It's like, oh, instead of punching them out, I'm like, well, I should probably tell them like, hey, this is what's really going on, and maybe see if we can work it out.
Yes.
And it has taken me a while to get to this point in my life, but I really want to bring awareness to that. I want to bring awareness to reconciliation, proper reconciliation. If the government wants to reconciliate with indigenous people, they really need to start taking care of their people instead of leaving these non-for-profits to benefit off of people. Because I've been to King Haven, I've been to Our House, 1835, Simon House, Sunrise, and all those treatment centers were great, but they were lacking one thing, and that was trauma therapy. I really want to bring awareness to that because there are a lot of men out there that have gone through a lot of traumas that they don't know how to talk about it.
Yes.
I was a volunteer at Peace Camp Yag over the last summer, and I made some friends with some of the guys. This guy Billy, it's not his real name, but so I can say it. But he's in jail right now, and like he calls me and he talks to me about his traumas. Like he opens up about abuse, sexual abuse, and it's stuff that we need because he's gone to treatment, he's gone to jail, like he's done federal time and provincial time, and it's they didn't help him. He's just a victim of the system. He grew up in foster care in Winnipeg.
Yes. Yeah. So just tell us again, you're pulling a shopping cart from where to where?
From Calgary City Hall to Edmonton Legislature.
To bring awareness
to bring awareness, and also, I finally the day that I started this, I got a confirmation email saying that I have my non-for-profit is official.
Nice.
My non-for-profit is called Nekem, and in Secwepemc language, Roshuswap language, it means to change something.
Yes.
And that's what this is all about, is change. And with Nekem, what we'll be doing is we'll be supporting the Badger Society, which is a men's mental health support group or a warriors group where we get together and like it's where guys can go and like we can express ourselves safe and healthy. We could, if we want to get mad, we'll get mad, but then when we're done getting mad, we can be like, all right, well, let's go feed someone, let's go get a pack of smokes and let's go help someone, let's just give someone 2-3 smokes,
Yes.
and buy them a coffee. That's something that's really been helping me with my recovery and getting out of myself is getting that warrior ideal back, because in my culture, that's what men do. Women bring life and men take life because we're hunters, we're warriors, and we provide for the community. So and a lot of indigenous men have lost that identity.
Warriors serve.
Yeah, and that's what I've been doing lately is with Nekem and the Badger Society is we go out into Edmonton River Valley, and we feed the homeless out there. We go to the camps. I just, someone told me there was some out there, and I went wandering around out there by myself, and I found these guys, and I've been helping them out ever since. And the gratitude that I get from them, I wouldn't trade for the world, because they told me like flat out that it helps them feel human. And that's all I really want to do, is help people feel like human beings, not whatever it is that they're feeling. And then I want to give them a hand up, not a handout. And
Yeah.
I want them to know, like, because when I was out on the streets in Calgary, I didn't have any of this stuff. And that's what I want to provide is that. So with the Badger Society, that's what we do, is we go out. I went out in Calgary and we drove around to the LRT stations, handed out hot chocolates and muffins, smokes. That's the gist of the Badger Society. We're also going to be sponsoring the Bare Necessities, which will help people transition from homelessness to detox to treatment, from incarceration to wherever it is that they're going. Because I've been released from jail with nothing, and I've gone to detox and rehab straight from the drop-in center or the Spady in Edmonton, and I've had to, nurses would put what they could together for me, but I want the bare necessities to be there. So when someone shows up at detox, we're going to be there with a duffel bag with socks, like clean, brand new socks, underwear, toiletries, sweats, pajamas, like good shampoo, not just like dollar store stuff. I'm not knocking the dollar store stuff, but when you get that, you don't like feel like you're as special. And if you got something like nice for your hair, some nice like sweatpants, something like that, you're going to feel more appreciative, and you're going to be grateful, because it's stuff that I didn't have.
Yes.
And that's what I want the bare necessities there for. And I want them to be through, like, help through the whole way of their recovery. When I got out of 1835, I got a drywall job. So I thought, I'd go buy a tool belt and all this stuff. And I ended up buying a bunch of carpenter tools and a carpenter belt and all this stuff that I didn't need for drywalling. And nobody told me. So,
Yeah.
so I want to be there for people that are transitioning, and just be like,
Yep.
hey, this is what you need. We'll
Yep.
help you get that.
Yes. Wow. So right now you're walking to create awareness around homelessness, and you're pulling the shopping cart, which is pretty amazing. You've pulled it for how many days now?
Today's day 5.
Wow.
I'm just in Black Falls right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all can see it.
Oh, I see. There's a path. You're on the 2A, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm taking the 2A all the way up. This is kind of cool, because this is where my journey started, as I came and spoke here at a protest last summer, and
Yes.
it really motivated me into advocating for indigenous rights and homeless rights and addiction,
Yes.
because there are a lot of people out here advocating for this stuff that haven't experienced it, and they've just read it from the book. And I'm not knocking them for trying. I'm just saying, like,
It's helpful. Yeah.
we need someone out here that has lived on the streets, that has had to sleep on buses and benches and ate out of the garbage.
Yeah. My street days were a long, long time ago. I'm sure that life has changed,
It's gotten worse. Like, from
Yeah.
my neighbor, he told me about being a hobo back in the 60s and hopping freight trains from Toronto to Vancouver. And he said that he couldn't imagine being like this today with the drugs and everything else and technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he made it sound like it was simpler.
Yeah. Yes. So, what would be the message you were also talking about reconciliation? You part of what your cause, or what you want to bring awareness to, is indigenous reconciliation. You feel that it's not really happening.
Yeah, well, it's not. I mean, we got Reconciliation Bridge. Edmonton has renamed their awards after some indigenous names. That's just a bunch of lip service. It's not really reconciliating anything. If they really wanted to reconciliate, they could create programs for indigenous people and people that have gone through trauma that are in jail, so they don't reoffend. they really wanted to reconciliate, they would find housing for the homeless. I mean, look at Medicine Hat. They don't have a homeless problem anymore.
Okay, what happened?
They have programs now designed for people living out on the streets. They get you into housing, into harm reduction living. I don't know the full story behind all that, but it's Medicine Hat doesn't have a homeless problem anymore. Now they just have an addiction problem, and it's honestly not that bad. I've talked to guys from recovery out there that said, yeah, I got into harm reduction housing out there, and then I thought I had enough, so I went to treatment, and then they ended up in Edmonton. And
Nice.
you know, that's stuff that the government can do to actually reconciliate, is take care of its people, not just Indigenous people, but everyone.
Yes.
I'm not out here just pulling for Indigenous homeless people. I'm out here pulling for all homeless people.
Yes.
Because living out on the streets here in Calgary, Edmonton, Lethbridge, Vancouver, everywhere that I've been homeless, I've always heard someone's story of like, hey man, like I was sexually abused as a child. My dad beat the crap out of me. All this terrible stuff happened to them. And
Yes.
they talk about it for like 5 minutes, and then they'd go back into a stupor of addiction.
Yes. Yeah. What about family? I mean, my focus recently has been around, every addict has family who's, fearful for them, worrying about them, wondering where they are. I mean, when you were in your addiction, you had family that were loving you, but, not able to help really, right?
Right. I moved away.
Yes.
I went as far away as possible because I didn't want them to see me the way I was. But whenever my mom wouldn't hear from me, she would tell me that like she was calling cop shops, hospitals, anywhere that she could think of. She was calling every one of my friends on my Facebook friends list to see if they had seen me. And it's hard. And that's something that I want to do with Nekem and my outreach program is I've had a lot of people, a lot of families reach out to me, and they're like, hey man, have you seen this person? And they'll send me pictures of their kids, and
Yes.
I've been able to reconnect some of these kids with their parents, and
Wow. Good for
and
you.
that right there, like that has it's really rewarding, because the way that they feel, like I wish I could do more of that. I wish I could just be like, yo man, here, your family still loves you. It's gonna be all right. And that's something I really want to do with Nekem, the Badger Society, and the Bare Necessities. I just want to reconnect families, and I've been able to do that out in Edmonton. One of the residents that was living in the River Valley, his sister contacted me, and she was like, hey, have you seen this guy? And I was like, yeah man, I just handed him some food the other day and a blanket and blah blah blah. And she was like, oh my god. And she called me crying, and I started crying, and I was like, she showed up in Edmonton, and we went and saw him, and he didn't go home with her, but she was like, at least he's okay.
Yes.
I know he's okay, and you're taking care of him.
Yes. How can people support you today?
If they'd like, they could Etransfer to Vee, all lowercase Vee Duncan 425 at mynorthwest.ca. I have a PayPal account set up. All of that's on my Facebook page. I also have a wish list for Amazon. People order off of that straight to my place. I have sweatpants, thermal wear, socks, underwear, stuff like that on the wish list, and all of that goes straight to the community. It doesn't sit around at my place that long. The money that people donate will go to, I have members of Edmonton community that I can give $50-$60, and they're able to put together 40 cups of soup and like some sandwiches, and we go hand that stuff out. So yeah, if they'd like, they can join the Facebook page Vee Duncan, or shoot an email. And something that I wanted to promote is, if anyone wanted to come walk with me, they're more than welcome. Because I can't do this alone.
I need to get your phone number. I tried to connect with you yesterday. I just want to tell everybody that I drove up to Red Deer, and you and I must have driven by you. I'll literally because I couldn't, I missed you, and I didn't have your phone number. I was just sending you messages, on Facebook Messenger, but I really get what you're doing. I think that, this is how change happens. I mean, when one person, and I know you have people with you, don't you, that are kind of spotting for you and helping you on this journey. But,
Yeah.
when you have a vision and you're committed to your vision, and this is how change happens, V. It really does. And I remember you, man, upstairs in over my store on 17th Avenue, and you used to come to the meeting, and yeah, that's got to be almost 10 years ago, and your hair was a bit longer, and you know,
A bit angrier.
you might have been, but we always connected, and
Yeah.
so I'm really happy to see that you found this, and you've made big changes, bud. You really have. It's happening, and good for you.
Well, after you deal with all that trauma and you find that purpose, and like that book, I hated it when I met you, and I was like, I'm never reading this crap. These guys don't know anything about me. But then I read that book, and when I read the doctor's opinion and it talked about how we lived altruistically, I had to look up that definition, and it's to live selflessly.
Yes.
And then that's what I had to start doing, is I just had to start living selflessly and making the world a better place around me. And
Amen.
when I started to focus on making the little things around me better, like what I started doing was I picked up garbage on the bus.
Yeah.
I'd bring a grocery bag with me and I'd just pick up random garbage that I saw and I'd throw it away because it made me feel accomplished. And it wasn't that big of a deal. It was just a little bit of garbage, and that's all I had to start with.
Yes. Yeah. Good for you. I mean, obviously, you know that for us in recovery, service has to be our foundation, and otherwise, we go from the psychic change that Carl Jung talked about was from what's in it for me, to how can I serve thee, and uh, that's the transformation, and I'm really see it. I see it in you, and you're doing it, and good for you. You're an example to a lot of men, and you'll be an example to a lot of men in the Aboriginal community as well. But to men everywhere, to men and women everywhere. This is
Yeah, and that's all I want to do, is just be an example of change and not giving up.
yeah. Well, you are. I believe. I've been working part time at Fresh Start, and we really see that this current government is putting a ton of money into treatment, into housing. Fresh Start's building 2 new facilities, 80 new beds, for aftercare housing, after the people come out of treatment, because lots of times, you get out of treatment and there's nowhere to go. And their model is that nobody leaves treatment to homelessness. Nobody. Everybody has a place to go, and which is
No, and that's awesome. I totally support that. I really hope that it works. And I don't know Fresh Start's program, but
it's
something that
12-step
I'd
based.
recommend is just trauma therapy,
Yes, yes, yeah,
in managing emotions, because a lot of us addicts that are coming in off the streets or
yes,
out of incarceration, we have a
yeah,
toxic way of thinking, and
yeah.
and that's something that we need to be taught.
Isn't it funny that, because we pride, tells us not to look at trauma. Pride says we don't, fear says we don't dare. Pride says we don't have to, and that more and more we're seeing that trauma has it really been it's like a weld in our emotional body. It's welded in, and so it needs to melt. And I believe love, which is what you're doing right now. This is love is an action word. Love is what melts trauma, and understanding and love.
That's that's what I didn't understand that until I don't tell many people this story, but I went to that Ogden group, and I'll never forget it. I went in there and I told them, don't you effing touch me, don't you effing hug me. I'm not like you effing drunks, and I'm not gonna, you know, don't even look at me. And this old guy Daryl, he didn't even he didn't skip a beat. He walked up to me after the meeting, And he said, well, V, and I know you said you'd punch me if I offered you a hug, but I really appreciate your honesty. And I wanted you to know that I care about you, man, and I'd like you to come back next Thursday. And like I almost started crying, and he was like, could I have a hug? And like first I was like mad, and I was like, this guy's crazy. I told him I was gonna punch him out, and now he's asking me for a hug.
Yeah.
And then after that, I kept going to Ogden just because that old guy gave me love that no one else ever did.
Yeah.
And he could just see that I was just a scared little boy, and I didn't know what I was doing. And all I needed was someone to come up and be like, yo, man, here's a hug. It's going to be all right.
Nice. Well, Vee, thank you. That's beautiful. What you're doing is beautiful. I'll get your links off of some of your other shares, and I'll post them with this. And I love you. I'm going to tag you in this as well, so you can put it on your page if you'd like. And
Awesome.
love you lots. And I'll keep in touch with you as you're traveling.
Sounds good, bro.
Message
I love you too.
Thank you. Message me your phone number.
I'll send you my phone number.
Or maybe you did. I don't know. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love you lots. Take care. Keep your watch the traffic. And
I'm trying. All right, man.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Yeah. Take care.
Yeah.